few years ago, I found a solo female traveler in the Instagram community that had beautiful photography and helpful tips for how to get started in solo traveling. I followed her for a year or so, and she really inspired me to want to solo travel for myself. There are so many reasons why I wanted to try solo traveling, which I will explain throughout this video, but the main reason started out as sometimes there will be no one to go with. My boyfriend didn't always want to spend the PTO or the money on travels the way that I did, and I prioritize travel a lot more than he does. And I really wanted to start exploring the world, since I hope to see as much of it as possible in my lifetime. Even though not always having a friend or my boyfriend to travel with was the main drive to go solo traveling at first, as I learned more through other solo travel pages, I saw that there was actually a lot more benefits, such as personal growth. I was a collegiate athlete, I hold a collegiate school record, I studied engineering, and I strive to improve constantly as a human. The personal growth one gains through solo travel really sparked my interest even more, and soon I felt called to go solo traveling. It was something I felt I needed to do to fill my soul. I also felt like something was missing in my life, and I was hoping that solo travel could help me find some clarity on what that was. Many solo female travelers warned that solo travel does not solve your problems, does not give you your purpose in life, and does not completely alter your life, but it does help with some of those things. I was looking for anything. I just wanted to throw myself way outside my comfort zone, seek adversity, and grow as a person. Although solo travel did change my perspective on life and the world a lot, it did not solve my internal conflicts or provide me with the meaning of life. In the weeks leading up to my departure, I remember having crippling fear and anxiety, and I hate to admit it, but I thought about canceling my trip. But a few days before the trip, I rewatched some old videos from some of the solo female travelers who inspired me to do this in the first place, and I was reassured that most likely everything was going to be okay and I was going to have a great adventure. And as I departed Orlando and went through my 23-hour travel day, I felt more and more at peace as the hours passed. Arriving in Split, Croatia, I had never felt more sure that I was in the right place doing the right thing for myself. Walking off the bus to my hostel in the dark alone, I felt a bit of the nerves settle in again as a solo female traveler walking alone at night, but I saw the most random mural of Elvis Presley right outside of Diocletian's palace, and to others this might not mean a whole lot, but to me, he is my go-to artist when I'm going through anything big, daunting, or just nervous. So if I'm ever sad or I'm uncomfortable in my life, he's the person I listen to. And this felt like such a big sign that God was looking out for me and I was doing the right thing. Throughout the rest of my 1.5-week solo adventure, I had stepped outside my comfort zone more than I ever had any day in my life. I talked to strangers in hostels, on the streets, in cafes, and in stores. I never did that in the United States, and I was always way too scared to put myself out there. I went on spontaneous adventures with hostel friends. I went on spontaneous adventures as a solo traveler. I navigated airports and public transport all alone across cities in a foreign country. I lived out of a backpack for 2 weeks and lived in dorms with strangers. I had never felt so independent and alive in my life prior to this trip. I truly had no one to lean on or look to for help. My family, friends, and boyfriend were 4,000 miles away. Throughout this trip, I gained a greater appreciation for the United States. Many people didn't really respect us when I responded where I was from when they asked, but I explained my home country to them and they became more open-minded. I also learned a lot about the EU government, which prior to this trip I had always thought had a perfect system set up for their people. But in talking to the EU citizens, I learned that we all struggle with politics in every country, and the citizens are not their government. I learned how small the world really is. How most people are truly so kind. People are not out to get you, as many true crime documentaries might try to tell you. I was looking at the local cats in Split and saw a girl around my age petting one, and I asked her if she was from here, and she said she was. So we got to talking, and she told me she worked at a hotel not too far away, and she was walking home from her shift. And I asked if she had any recommendations for things to do or food to try in Split, and she actually took me on an entire tour of her city for over an hour out of the kindness of her heart, because she was just so excited to show me her city. She showed me her favorite coffee shop, a few stores she liked, tips for avoiding high prices in town, a famous sandwich shop. I wish I got her contact info because she was one of the sweetest people ever. Sadly, I do not remember her name, but all I ever heard is Europeans hate Americans and that they're rude to them. And meanwhile, this girl was so nice and proved me wrong and went out of her way to show me so much kindness, and I wish I could repay her the favor. On the island of Hvar, I was swimming along a walkway near the main part of town and brought my goggles to look to look around the ocean floor and like snorkel a little bit, I quickly noticed there were sea urchins everywhere. I wasn't aware that Croatia had so many sea urchins, but apparently this is a really commonly known thing. It did not come up in my research. I figured I would let the people around me know because honestly I thought it was a miracle I didn't step on one getting in and out of the water during my swims that day. I tried to tell a man nearby and he just smiled and said something along the lines of, "Oh yes, I'm a local, I'm aware," in the nicest way possible. He could have been so rude to me, stating something so obvious to him, but he was so kind and welcoming to a tourist in this town. And then we chatted for a few minutes and I let him get back to his swimming. Croatians are so kind. Throughout the rest of the solo portion of my trip, I found the kindest, most fun friends from around the world. We went on daily adventures together, talked about cultural differences, things we both liked, our past, our future travels, and more. And if you expect the best from people, the right people will fall in your path. I feel like before this trip, I was always too scared to talk to strangers, or that I expected them to be cold and not want to talk to me. I guess in the hostel world, people want to make friends while they travel. Even once I returned back home, I would talk to strangers more when I went out, and I found that most people actually enjoy talking to strangers and that they're very good and kind. Also, the amount of confidence I have gained from solo traveling is insane. I used to not be confident at all, and through solo travel, I have gained so much confidence in my abilities, in who I am as a person, my beliefs, and so much more. So I guess the takeaway from this video is that it's good to throw yourself outside your comfort zone. That doesn't mean you need to try skydiving if you're terrified of heights, but it can mean that you spoke to a stranger on the train today, or that you paid for a stranger's coffee in a cafe, or that you just put yourself out there to try something you were scared to do once. The secret to doing something that is outside of your comfort zone and that maybe scares you is that you will never feel ready, and to just try it. Take risks, take calculated risks, do what makes you happy. And sometimes the greatest experiences come from stepping outside your comfort zone. If you really enjoyed this message, please don't forget to subscribe and follow along on the adventures.